So I'm going to show everyone how to disassemble an Emerson electric fan. This blade, since so many people were having trouble with my last video, really didn't go in depth that much, just kind of showed pictures. So now this is the longer video. I don't know how long it's going to be, but I'll hopefully cut it down. But what you want to do to get the cage off, there's like these clips on the side to hold it on. It's not on the older ones, it's got screws and they're a lot harder to, they're just really annoying to get off. So with these you pry down, and then what you want to do is push this over and get it over. Sometimes it'll catch back, but once you get more than one going, so I'm going to get this one, yep, and then once you get like more than 3 or something, you pull it off. There's the cage. Now, right now, this isn't my fan, but I'm going to buy it soon because it needs a new head wire, and I'm kind of running low on wire. So I am going to do a head wire video because I do have some left. I had another fan I'm saving it for. But I'll just do that later. I'll pause the video once I get everything set up. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is take off back screw for the bullet, flathead screwdriver, and actually no, I'll take this off, but it should stay on. This is the Emerson Electric AL series fan paint job. It's got a weird paint job. Oh yeah, also for a reminder, I use a glass jar to keep all my screws in. You can use solo cups, like I don't know, anything, a bag even, just to hold the screws. But yeah, you just keep track of them, because I know you can replace them, but they're a lot harder to find, and they're not going to be original. So let me just show you the bottom. Okay, so there's the oscillator wheel. What you do is you turn it one way to push the screw out, so that way because this is always turning, so when it turns it just makes the arc wider. So then you can like put it in the middle, and then you get like a decent, like a 90-degree arc all the way out. Middle, I think it's 45-degree arc, and then in the center it's no arc, and then all the way out it's 90, and then in between them is the 40-degree arc. So it's really nice, because if it's like in a crowded space, like on my desk, because this one I can't do it. You can adjust the arc, but I don't really want to. I'll just leave it. But this one you can make it go really slowly, or oscillate slowly, so that way you can like put it on some desk, even though you want to have it oscillate, and there's something like a wall. If you put it on a shelf and you want it to oscillate, but you can't make it oscillate the whole way, just adjust it slowly like this. Most people don't know how to do that, and they just leave it in whatever position it was. Okay, so now let's get the screw. I forget which way to do it. I don't know if it's reverse threaded or not, but I'm going clockwise, I'm pretty sure. Counterclockwise to tighten, and clockwise to remove. Okay. These sometimes will be greasy because the grease from the gearbox, or the oil from the grease in the gearbox, will fall down over time. And there's a washer on top. Some of them have the washer if it hasn't been taken apart before. It's kind of hard to find. Sometimes these have been taken apart. Luckily, most of them I find the head wires aren't replaced, so that means that nobody has messed it up over the past. I have yet to see anybody replace, or I have yet to see any head wire replacement in the past, because this is probably original. Now I've seen tons of the cords replaced. This cord is actually original, I'm pretty sure. I'm not going to plug it in though, because it needs to be repaired. Okay, I'll stop rambling. It's already a 4-minute video. What you do is just move this out of the way, and then be careful with the back bullet, because the paint on this one's in nice condition. I don't want to mess it up, so just slide it back and forth, and then you can pull it off. Be careful about the head wire. Don't yank on it. Don't be dumb. and then you'll have to move the thing out. You'll have to move it out of the way of this collar on the bottom, and then you just set it here. Make sure it's laying on the ground a little bit so it doesn't put any strain on this. And I'm betting there's probably a broken wire in there. Hopefully it's repairable. If not, then I don't think I'm gonna get this fan. So now we are on the blade removal. Now I'll have to deal with this on the floor since I don't have enough space. Okay, so now we get on to the part to find the hole in the rotor. You can't really see it, but let me find it first. Okay, so I found the hole in the rotor. Sorry. You can see it right there with the light. There's a hole in the rotor. Some of them have them and some of them don't. If they don't, then what you need to do is take the left screw of the oscillator gear out, or the gearbox, save that, find the thread of it. I don't remember what type of thread, but it's like, I don't remember. But and you have to have a hardened steel. It's very important, because if you get a different type of steel or a different type of, it needs, because you don't want it to be a softened one, because I've had them bend on me. I don't do that. I don't really use them anymore because I don't like them, but I've had them bend on me and it's messed up. So when you tighten it, when you get that screw in, a pretty long screw, and you tighten it in, use this side, the left side. The right side will go in the windings. If you hit the windings, you'll mess up the fan and it'll just be parts. So you don't want to do that. Always the left, or at least the one that doesn't hit the windings, which is always like that. You unscrew that, and then you screw it all the way into the rotor, but you do not don't like tighten it so much where you can't even like move the thing anymore. Just tighten it until this thing locks up, and just don't tighten it anymore. Cause you just want it to hold this. You don't want, and if it's like really stuck on there, just take it out and then just try again. That's what I say. But that's without the hole, which is in the older ones, the brass plated ones up there. So now what we do is you would see the hole in there, and some of them have this, and the earlier or the later ones, like that one up there, don't. And there's a certain way that you have to do it. I'll put a still picture up once I find it, but there's a certain way to do it, because there's like these tabs on the rotor that you can stick a screwdriver in a certain way, but it has to be resting on the lip of the rotor, not on the windings, the lip of the rotor. I have a picture of it. And what it'll do is it'll catch with the side of the housing and that lip, and it will lock the blade up, so that way you can turn it off. But whichever way you're doing it, like if you're taking the blade off, you'd have to put it on this side of the vent, and then if you're putting the blade back on, you'd have to put it on this side. And one thing that I can't say enough is, when you're putting the blade on, don't force it, because these are fine threads, and if you put it on at a little bit of angle and you force it on, then you just strip the threads and you kind of ruin the fan, because you'd have to get a whole new rotor, and it's just not worth it. So be careful. If it doesn't go on, just unscrew it off and then try again. And also, one other thing, I'll say more during the video, or once I get farther in the video. There's there's a shaft that goes all the way through into the fan. Not the spindle, but the shaft inside the spindle, and it goes to the hub. And there's a little slat in the hub, and what it does is the shaft connects to the slat in the hub so it can turn with the blade, and then there's a gear in here that turns all those gears for the oscillation. Then you have to make sure that you clean the gearbox out, put new grease, oil this, and clean the spindle with a towel, paper towel. No steel wool, no steel wool. You'll just ruin it. No sandpaper either. You'll ruin it. And you just clean it with a paper towel or a towel. Put some oil on the towel so you can get the grease or whatever, the dirt off. and then you want to make sure there's like, once I get this blade off I'll show you more, but just wanted to get that out of the way because my last video didn't. And let me just cut this video since it's at 10 minutes. Okay, now I'm back. I'm gonna get it ready and stop rambling. There, now I got a Allen wrench in that hole in the rotor. So now it should be good. Sorry about that. And you won't have to worry about, once you get it in the hole, you won't have to worry about it hitting the windings. And the windings, if you're wondering, they're the copper coils or wire that go around the stator laminations, and that's what causes there to be a magnetic field with the rotor, which is, I think, I don't remember. I think it's like some iron or some sort, and there's different types of rotors. But I'll stop talking about that. And once you get it in the hole, the way to take it off is you spin it. You'd spin it clockwise, I'm pretty sure, to take it off, or the way that the fan would run if it were running. The way the blade pitch goes, so like you would turn it this way to loosen it, and you'll tell once it takes off. This one was pretty stuck on there. You just want to like turn it, and don't put any down pressure on it. This is bad, just side pressure. And I already took this blade off because it was pretty stuck on there, so you just twist it off, keep a hold of the blade because you don't want it to drop, and then you'll make it off balance, and you just pull it out. There. This one has some oil in there because I put some in there, and I'll show you once I get here. So the blade's off, and if you can see in there, there's the slat that I'm talking about. That's where the oscillator shaft goes in there, and then there's fine threads around it, and there's no set screws on it. So don't think about, I know someone told me that they drilled into the center of it, which is the dumbest thing you can ever do. I don't even know why you'd do that, drill into a fan, and there's obviously a way to take it apart, but never do that. I'm pretty sure on basically most of the Emersons they use that way of taking the blade off, unless you have like a window fan or something, like a rollabout fan. But on these, you just pull it out straight, don't move it. But on these, I'm pretty sure the 12-inch ones use it. The 16-inch ones obviously use this type of blade. I don't know if I think the older 10 or 9-inch fans did use this type of blade, but for a short amount of time. So if you get one of those, it's usually Emerson Junior, and it has a brass blade. So let me pause the video, get everything set up, and I'll continue. Okay, I'll zoom in so you guys can see it. Sorry about this. Oh my gosh, I hate this thing. There. Now you can see the oscillator shaft right here. See how it's flat on both sides, so it's fit in there, and then there's like this spring or some type of, it's like a spring, but it's not, just spiral. What it does is it moves when the fan is running, it pushes the oil. Is that forward or backward? Oh, it pushes it backward, so that way it gets, once it recirculates through, because the oil will circulate, and there's grooves in the rotor to push the oil forward, and then this pushes it back, so it recirculates. That's the whole reason why these fans are still working today. I mean, unless somebody jammed it up or something. That's just bad. But the one thing that most people don't do is they don't balance the blade. That's important, because I know on Emersons, it's obviously important to do it, because over time it'll add strain on the bearing, and then you can have it crack or something, which is bad. So I think there's a video on YouTube how to balance blades, but it's very important to have them balanced, and you don't use any weights of any sorts, no drilling or anything. It's not that, it's the blade needs to be bent forward or backward, or the pitch needs to be adjusted. So stop rambling and get these off. Let me just find the right nut and socket, and I'll be ready. Okay, so most people who are watching this video are pretty new to fan collecting or just restoring a fan. I've been collecting fans for 9 years now. I've really, after 3 years, I've really been cleaning them, taking them apart, but the last 5 years, I've just been kind of keeping them in my room. I've been using some of them. The ones that I know that I didn't need to take apart, but I've taken those apart already. So basically, more than half of my collection I've taken apart. So I can basically use any fan I want in my collection. I mean, some of them don't work. Like this one I can't use. And I have to clean this one up, put a new head wire on it. So once you get this off, on the 12-inch ones, there's a U or an arc down here. What you want to do is have that face downward, so because like sometimes if you were to tilt the fan down or oscillate, you wouldn't want it to hit this base. So that's why they put it there. With 16-inch ones, it's taller, so you don't have to worry about it. Sit that to the side and make sure to keep watch it, because some people aren't smart enough to do that. I got a huge Emerson pedestal fan and somehow they lost some parts on it, which is dumb. So I just take these off. Okay, now I'm gonna get these off. It was a longer video because my last video I did was supposed to be shorter. This was only 11 minutes. But I grazed over a lot of things and people still had questions. So this is a more in-depth video. It's going to take a long time. It's not going to be short. I'm going to do 2 parts to it. I'll link both of them in this description. But I just have to get this part. I'll put a disassembly and then a rewiring video. Oh crap, I got to... sometimes on these... you actually take out the stud, which I didn't want to do. Dag. Okay, I'll just take that out. Didn't mean to take it out, but there's like a stud that goes through all the way. Oh yeah, I forgot it zoomed in. Okay, I'll zoom it out a little bit. See the stud that goes through? This one part goes through the stator and this part's at the end. And I didn't mean to do that, so I'll have to take it downstairs in a vice grip and take that extra one off and then put it back on, which is annoying. But yeah, here I got this back, I got this off to the side. Now we get to the, there's the what is it, the windings. This one is an older one, so some of them vary, but I know that this one is pretty close to the same as the other ones. I hate to rewind this thing. It doesn't look burnt at all. If it was burnt, then no, that's just varnish. Check if it's burnt. You see if it moves at all. I mean, some of them they never put varnish on, but if it doesn't have this cloth on it and it's not supposed to, if it never had cloth on it in the start, then it's not burnt. But on most of these Emersons, they usually have cloth on it unless it's a rewind, and it could be burnt off. But if it moves at all, and that's bad, and you don't see any of these insulators in here, then it's probably burnt, which is bad. Unless, I mean, if you see obviously, then there's like, if you run it and you smell something bad, it's not oil. I know that sometimes somebody spills oil on the windings, which is right here, and you smell that oily smell. That's usually because there's oil on the windings and it needs to be cleaned, but you really can't clean it. Always be gentle with the windings. They're the most important part of the fan. So, oh crap, I forgot the one thing I came for, but I'll just use this. You want to get channel lock pliers, but since I didn't bring them, I'll just get this. I'll just get a crescent wrench And I'm pretty sure it's counterclockwise to remove. I'm not sure, I don't remember, but yeah, it is counterclockwise to remove. So now I just take it off. Then keep track of these fiber washers. And I'll just put them over here. These are very important. Very important. And then you get another clock. I'm gonna pause the video. Okay, so I got everything. Jesus, video is gonna be over 30 minutes, but I'm showing it more in depth and everything. Okay. Let's take this out. Make sure that if it doesn't want to come out, you have to like twist it a little bit. And no, don't hammer on anything. It's the dumbest thing ever. Especially even if the blade doesn't come. Oh wow, there's a lot of oil leaked out of this thing. Probably need a new one of those leather washers. Oh geez, this thing leaked oil. Oh yeah, there's also fiber washers in the back that you gotta keep track of. And then here's the rotor out. And you see how these tabs on the side? On this one you can't really use the technique I was talking about on the other one, but on the 50s, or the later ones, you have to use my method that I showed earlier on how to take them off with those tabs. Make sure to clean this off. I need to clean it off because it got oil on it from the last time I oiled it, because I thought that this was still good, but it's not, so I'm going to put a new one on there, leather washer. I don't remember where I bought them, but I know that somebody sells them. So you can just go to the AFCA, not the football one, but the Antique Fan Collectors Association. Jeez, there's a lot of oil on this thing. And then let me get it. Did I actually clean the last time? I don't think I did. Okay, so to get that out, I'll fix the video and I'll zoom in. I don't know if I can zoom in anymore, but I'll try to. If you can see right here, there's a hole for where the oil gets to it. So, well, when you first get in there, just clean off all the dirt and everything. But I already did that, but I probably need to do it again. Clean it off with a spindle. Pretty dirty. What you want to do is you get a paper clip. And then you want to like get the grease out of this hole, or the dirt, and just like move it around, because this is the way the oil gets back in. Make sure to wipe it off so you don't get the bad dirt still in there. Just take it, keep on cleaning. There's one on the bottom too, so you gotta watch for that. And just try to get that old dirt and grease out of there. And then there's some in the back too, but the way to do it without taking out the winding is you make your paper clip extra long, and then I don't know if you can see it, but it's in the back. Maybe if I move it a little forward. Yeah, there you go. There's one in the back right there. Just clean out all that crud. It's way easier to do with the Stator out, but you can clean out all of that grease, or all that dirt. And there's one on the bottom too, so you have to get to that one too. But you have to make sure those are cleaned out, because if you're just going to oil the fan from the oil port, which is in the back, this tube, there's a hole in the bullet or the back cover to put oil through. If you're going to do that, then you have to make sure those are clean, because normally they're clogged with dirt over time, because if you get lucky, somebody will oiled it before you and actually cleaned it up, but most of them, they're normally not cleaned at all, so you have to go in there, do everything I did, and then you just have to clean the spindle off, paper towel, clean one, and just clean it all around, make sure to get that junk dirt off. And then the most important part that I didn't say in my other video is you want to make sure to put some new oil, non-detergent oil. That's very important, non-detergent oil. I use Zoom Spout 3-in-1, the blue can, which is for fans. The reason why I'm emphasizing non-detergent is because the detergents are meant for cleaning, and they kind of gum up the bearings because it's not really meant for high-speed bearings or fan bearings. That's the whole reason why. Detergent oil doesn't clump up with the dirt, I'm pretty sure. So that's why it's much easier, because the other ones, it'll just gum up the bearings after a while of running, and then your fan, you'll just have more trouble because it'll seize up and it'll just run slower, put more strain on the motor, more heat generated from the windings because it's not being much air pulled through as much as usual. So just avoid all that. I know on these fans it's not as big as an effect on other fans that soak into the bearing, but still just don't use it. Use non-detergent oil. Like the Zoom Spout 3-in-1, the blue can. I like the Zoom Spout's pretty nice because you can take the nozzle out and put it anywhere you need, because on a lot of these fans it's kind of awkward to oil them. I'll go get my oil can and I'll show you guys. Here's the Zoom Spout can that I use. Let me zoom out a little bit. See how it's got a long nozzle. And this is for high-speed bearings that it says. Non-gumming. Use on electric motor bearings, which is good. That's what you want to use. I like this one the most because you get the nozzle and you can like put it in different places and everything. The other one you don't get that, and it's kind of harder to use compared to the Zoom Spout. So it's very important to oil it with non-detergent oil. Can't stress that enough. And then one thing, you really won't find it on the Emerson Electric front of the bearing on the fan, but some fans do. Take like an old paintbrush, one that won't like, unless like all the insulation is coming off, then just gently dust it off. In the back, if you don't have an air compressor, but the one thing with most fan collectors, they use an air compressor to get all that dust out. What you can do is just blow in there and hopefully it'll just come out, because you can't really stick the brush into there to blow it out. But once you get the stator out, you can you can dust the back of it pretty well. So once you get that done, most people, they don't clean the motors, but if you're not going to clean the fan, then at least clean the motor by blowing it out with air compressor every once now and then. So let me zoom out a little bit so you don't just... There. So now you see the back of the gearbox. So what you want to do is undo it. Make sure this is disconnected. There's the oil port also that I was talking about. There's only one oil port on these. You can put oil because it's a single bearing. And where's my thing that I put it over here? Okay, so let's put these fiber washers on over here. One thing that's important also is to make sure that there's little in and out play. I mean, you want like at least some of it. I think an 1/8 of an inch or 1/16 of an inch is good of in and out play. So, in and out play, I mean, is like how far the blade goes out and in. Like this one, my other fan has a decent amount. Probably could have put some fiber washers in there, but I don't have any thin ones. So that'll just have to do. Okay, I got that screw off. Let's get the other top one. Sometimes these are stuck, but I took these off already with this screwdriver. What you can do is if they're pretty stuck, you just take channel lock pliers and put them on the end, on like right here for the screwdriver, and then like you put it up, you get more leverage on it. Be careful not to like accidentally push it into the windings, which is pretty dumb. Waste all your time and then ruin the fan on accident, which is bad. Okay, so you get it out. This one I have not changed the grease on, which I'll have to do because I don't know if this is going to be my fan or not. So you take it off, you see the gearbox with all the grease. I do have a video. You want to make sure to clean this grease out, take it completely out. You can use mineral spirits to clean it out once you get all the big chunks out, and then you just wipe it down. You want to get it as clean as possible, and then you get new grease, which you can get at the, I think, AutoZone. There's like a big, I think it's like brake pad grease or something like that, and there's like a big jar of it, and I just use that, and it works pretty well. I think you can even use it in ball bearings and fans with ball bearings, so, which is the big pedestal fans and sometimes the smaller fans. So wow, I got a lot of it on my hand. But once you get that out, I think I do have a video on me taking one of these apart, because what you do is, if nobody wants to watch this video, or if wants to watch my other one, you just take a screwdriver. Once you get the screws on the bottom out, well, there's like 3 of them. You take a screwdriver here and you pry it up, and what it'll do is push this top part up and then leave the bottom part down, and you'll just pull apart. That's how you do it. This grease seems okay, but it's not. It's all dirty. It doesn't move as much as it used to, and I'm just gonna replace it all, even if it is good or not. But I don't really care. It's my fan, and I want to keep it in good condition. The grease just helps minimize wear on the gears, because a lot of these Emerson fans, they oscillate pretty smoothly, and that's a plus, because you don't want it to not oscillate smoothly. So here's the back gear that I was talking about. What you can do is you can just pull it through. You might have to move that spring out of the way. You just pull it through, all the way through, and then clean it. Try to get the grease off of it, and keep all those fiber washers it has on the end of it. Just clean it, and then make sure to keep this fiber washer here. What I'll do is I'll put some oil at the end or in the bearing, so that way it doesn't rub, make an annoying noise when it goes through. Oh yeah, and here's, let me just pull the spring out. Here's the part that I was talking about, to get the oil to go back. What you just want to do is clean that off with a towel, with a rag or something, and then just get all that old dirt and oil off of it. It's probably not good mixing with. This has some dirt on it, which is bad. Definitely not good mixing with the new oil. I mean, it's not going to be perfect, but you just don't want that dirt getting in there. I know on some of them they had a flip cap, which I wish they kept, because that was pretty nice, but once they added the bullet, you really couldn't do that. So there's a flat part on here that you have to line up with the end of this flat part when you go put it in, because it's not going to be perfectly aligned when you put it in. So just clean that off, and then some new. I'm just going over it fast because I'm gonna take this fan back part again, more in depthly. So you just put some oil in this part, just a little bit, and then just slide this through. So that way, now you have some oil right there. So that way it doesn't wear away at that little bearing. And you want to make sure that this big part, or this spiral part, goes in the back. And then you slide it through. I don't know if you can see that. Oh yeah, you can. Just slide it through. Sometimes they'll catch, but you just have to turn it a certain way so that way it'll go through, and then you just push it all the way. Push it through, and it should go in nicely, and leave a little bit of that flat end part showing. And yeah, you just want to make sure to oil that when you go through. You put it together. So let me just throw these away, and I'll come right back. Okay, so I'm kind of skipping over a lot of parts, which I probably shouldn't. I'm going over a lot of parts. They're pretty easy, but the one thing to get out of this is going more in depth, because some people have some trouble with these. They're kind of daunting. Now, I haven't replaced the head wire yet. I'll get another part 2 of that, but this is just the cleaning and oiling. So now we're to the oiling part of it. So let me zoom out a little bit and put down. Let's see if you guys can see it if I put it like right here. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to clean all of it up with the clean rag, get the back of it, and then what you want to do is take this clean rag and twist it up. Just don't put a screwdriver in there to push this through. You just gouge up the bearing, just make it louder, and it's gonna cause some damage to it, so you don't want to do that. Might want to make it a little thinner, just so it'll fit. And just get that cleaned up. This one I've cleaned a little bit, so just push that through until it gets to the end. You might want to twist it a little bit. Then once you get it to the end, just spin the bearing, make sure to hold it, and it'll clean. What it'll do is it'll clean all that crap off. And it'll just slowly go down through. There's a lot of it on there. And just spin it. Make sure this doesn't break and drop your bearing. But you'll just pull it through, and then you pull it back through, and it should be a lot cleaner. But you want to do that more than once, because normally these are pretty dirty. I'll just use this part again since I know I'm gonna. You can also take Q-tips and clean the surface of it. That's what I did the first time. But since I'm gonna be taking this apart, I'm not as worried about it. I am using a whole clean cloth, but I am going to clean this just for the video purposes and everything. So get that through. You just clean that. There's a little inside part that you want to clean also. You can't really, I don't know if you can tell. Let me just shine it through the video. See how there's grooves in there? That's to keep the oil to go through, and to move it forward and backward, or to move it forward to the front of it. But the one thing is about these is there's really no way to clean the inside of those out. So you're kind of stuck with they're always being clogged or having dirt in them, which kind of sucks. But you can take an air compressor and blow it out. What I'm going to do, but you can see in there. The one thing I noticed on these, on the AL series, is they actually stamp the 77646A or AL, which is Surprising. On the other ones, they never stamped the stator or the rotors, so that's from the factory, so they can keep track. And then you see that little drill. You don't want to drill your own because it'll just put this off balance, and that's not good. They did that at the factory, so you didn't have to worry about it. And now once you get that cleaned, make sure to clean these fiber washers. Make sure to clean the fiber washers that you got from them. Clean these off and just put the same order that you did when you got them. And if they're missing, if it's rubbing on the back, then you have to put at least a thin fiber washer behind it so it doesn't rub on it. And the way to figure out that if you have the right amount of fiber washers is if the front of the stator laminations lines up with the front of this rotor part, and also the back, because you want to keep it aligned in between that little space, because if you don't, then it draws more, because it works more to keep it aligned, so that way the magnetic field won't be disturbed as much. Okay, so now I'm going to put some oil on it, and you just got to put some oil from the back and then just put it forward, and make sure to put your finger and put it all around it, so that way you get an even coating. Most people don't do this, which is not good, because you're just basically doing it dry, putting this in dry without putting oil, and you just put oil in here, which is not good, because you cause some bearing wear that wasn't needed, or that could have been avoided. So you just put some oil in there. I put a little bit more. Just make sure it doesn't drip too much, and just put it all around there. And if there's rust on it, then you just put some oil on a rag or something and just clean it off more. And now once we get the rotor, the thread part first. Threads, because that's where the screw is, or the blade is. Let me zoom out a little bit. So what you want to do is you want to put oil in this part too, not just on that shaft, but on this. What I do is with the zoom spout, it's much easier, but I just watch until oil comes through, and you just slowly take it through till the end of it, and then you just let it. Then once you clean up the end of it, so that way the oil doesn't leak out, you just turn it slowly, so that way the oil gets in all around that part. I'm going to put more and actually watch it, but there should be a lot of oil in there. You just slowly turn it until it coats all of the surface. Since you did that, you just slowly turn it. I don't know if you can see, but there's a lot of oil in there. You gotta make sure that, see how there's a lot of oil, and you just slowly turn it, and it will follow a little bit. Slowly turn that all the way around until it coats the whole bearing surface. You can put a little bit more in there. Just do that. The part that matters is the front and back of the bearing, not the middle, but you still want to coat the middle, just so that way there's some oil in there. And then once you get that done, and just to line it up. Oh, also got to make sure to clean the rotor. You don't want it to be dirty when you put it in. Make sure the oil doesn't leak out. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to put, once I get it in, I'm going to put a new thing on it. Here, I'll just put this through. Just slide it in a little bit, and then you want to splint it a little bit. Make sure the oil doesn't leak out. But over time, it's going to get better. It's going to get a better, it's going to get a better spin down time, because these bearings, once you run it for a while, they start to get better, or they start to get freer. Because right now I just took it apart, and not as free as it could be, but I did put a lot of oil on it. Which is good. These actually could take a lot of oil. Just don't over oil them, but they take more than just a couple of drops. They take like 20 drops once you clean it up and everything. I'll put a little bit of oil in there for them, but yeah. Okay, so now you want to get the front nut part. Also, make sure that you put this spindle on and this back in before you put this nut that holds it on, because it's very important. If you don't want to, it'll just be hard to do. And I keep on saying that the video is long. I'm sorry for the long video, but it has to be more in depth on everything. I wish I had this video, but if you want to, I'll put the start to watch the whole video if you want to know everything about it, or skip to parts with it. But you just want to, like, clockwise, I'm pretty sure clockwise to tighten. Let me get this in there. You don't want to over tighten it, but you want it to be tight enough where it's not going to fall off. Just there, that's good enough. See how it lines up with the front of here? That means that you have the right amount of fiber washers. And there's a little bit of in and out play. This is actually probably the best. This is probably the best in and out play yet, because a lot of them actually move out a lot more than they should, which is not good. But I don't have enough thin fiber washers to do that. So let me just pause the video and I'll get back to you. Just for time's sake of the video, I already got this out of the way. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this on, and you got to put this on before you put the blades on. So you just want to make sure you line it up, get them through. This one's being a pain in the butt to get on. Yeah, there. Slide it in. You have to make sure to put this on before the blade, because you're gonna have some trouble with that. Then you have to, like, take it back off. It's just annoying. So you put these acorn nuts back on. And I'll just pause the video here because basically you know the gist of it. Okay, so now you have your Allen wrench or screwdriver in the back and the hole in the rotor. Now we're going to put the blade on. Just have to move it out of the way. But what you want to do, I remember telling you earlier in the video that there's a slot in the blade that you have to line up with this flat spot. So with this, what I do is I just put it flat. I look at to see where the slot is. I'll line it up, and I hold this, and then what I do is I turn it. Is it counterclockwise? Yeah, counterclockwise. This is the part where you have to be careful not to have it go on wrong. You go counterclockwise. Or the way if the fan was running backwards. Just tighten. Don't over tighten it, but decent amount. And now what you want to do is when you do that, you have to watch. Let me see. Now what you do is you watch to see if the oscillator gear moves when you turn the blade. If it does, then that means that you have that little shaft part in the blade, center of it. I mean, you might have to adjust it a little bit. You might have to take the gearbox off and then, like, adjust it, wiggle it into it with that, because sometimes it doesn't always go on correctly. But that's what I'll do right now, just to check it. But other than that, that's really the gist of it. And there's some screws on the base plate right here that you take off and you get to the base, and then there's some screws holding on to the switch, but I'll cover that in my next video. This one's almost like 30 minutes or more, which is a lot. So when you put this on, obviously you want to make sure the badge is on correctly, but this little arc part has to be at the bottom. So what you do is you just line it up, put it around the blade, you line it up, get it on, and you put one of these on here, and you get another clip, and you get this side clip that part, and then you get the top, you clip that, and you clip the other one, and then you might have to twist it a little bit just to get this one to connect. But there, you got the cage back on. You probably should have cleaned it up first, but yeah, basically got the cage on and everything, and then you get the back board on, and then you reconnect everything. So it's basically it. Disassembly and assembling the blade back on to oil it. But to do the head wire, I'll take it apart another time. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll get part 2 out soon.